All right. So we're beginning the Tree Advisory Committee meeting on April 13th at 4:04. It's called to order. All right, first thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes from March 9th. Are there any questions, modifications,
I have a copy if anyone needs it.
additions?
Here for that one, so I don't feel like I should move to approve the minutes, but if somebody wants to.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion passed.
Who was the first one that made the motion?
Craig.
Oh, I was saying I shouldn't since I
No,
wasn't here.
oh no, you should. That's good. Yeah. All right. There is no one here for public appearance. The next item on the agenda is our agenda approval for this evening. Any recommendations for change?
I move approval.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion is passed. The agenda has been approved. The first agenda item is the tree preservation ordinance. An update.
I'll just give a quick update. I'm not sure there's been a whole lot of significant movement since the February meeting, and I'm not sure the update that was given there. But we did present our current draft to the committee of the whole in March. Got some pretty good, I'd say, across the board. It was mostly positive feedback with a couple tweaks and one public appearance who was fairly negative on the overall idea, but seemed to he had a couple points that we were able to address, and then the rest is mostly just a difference of opinion on whether or not we need the ordinance in the first place, and a lot of that's just not going to be quite resolvable. But the feedback we got from the committee was really positive. We had a lot of good conversation, and the kind of factual changes that needed to be made to the ordinance were very minor little tweaks or typo type things than anything substantial. So I think we're in a good place. Linda, I'm not sure if you want to give an update on kind of the next steps. I know you had your timeline.
Okay, well, I just got a couple more comments just about updates too. So I think one of the recommendations for the person who I think he identified himself as a developer was it had to do with the measurement of the trees. Is that correct?
He was right.
And he was right, and we've
Changed it.
We've changed it, so that was great. The other things
What did you change?
We had a reference to circumference and diameter back to back and meant the same thing, where intended it to be the same. So we just had to adjust it so that it was diameter in both places, which is what we originally intended. It was
Right.
just a...
And one of the reasons I bring it up is because I want people to know we do listen. We do listen. So
Which is a great point.
right. And then the other points he made, I mean, we had already looked into for the most part. One was concerned about what people might do if they might just clear cut the trees, which our ordinances don't allow for those kinds of things anyway, so that's really a non-issue. Another one had to do with expense, which we've already researched, and that does not seem to be prohibitive. But it's great to have all the input, and I think the other as we've already said, a lot of the questions or comments we've gotten from other developers have been really, I think, very consistent with us moving ahead with this. It's not been negative.
They've come across more as clarifying what we're trying to say rather than resisting what we're trying to do, which I think is generally positive. I mean, that's what we'd like is here's what we're going for, and then understanding that rather than being in a position of outright resistance or fighting with them, which is obviously not what we want. So.
And then I think the other two things, one had to do with canopy, and because we've talked a lot about this tree preservation policy being very consistent with the city's goals of 30% canopy, and just clarifying that when trees are, well, I'm going to back up a bit. I believe what we found is that we are losing ground as we're cutting the trees that need to be removed because of emerald ash borer. We're losing ground in our canopy coverage for our city, for our urban area. So, and then the point, of course, being that if we cut mature trees, the young trees that replace them don't contribute to the canopy cover for many, many years. So it's not, we want to preserve what we can. And then I think the other one was just a clarification about our goal to be recognized as a world tree city. And so because of, again, very good feedback from the Committee of the Whole, we looked into that further, and yes, indeed, the tree preservation ordinance that we are proposing does put us in the running for that. So that was also very good to validate or to confirm. So great feedback from all the committees we worked with, great questions, including council. So that's the update.
Can I give another update?
Yes,
Because
please.
someone asked me why it has not been moving through commissions. It's not moving yet.
Right.
And I asked a question to Chad the other day, and he told me that they're going to have another meeting
Yep.
internally
Yep.
to discuss I don't know what, but I want to be in the meeting.
Oh, good.
Because I think that they're going to have a meeting with Diana and Mike
I guess so.
and
Yeah.
the development team
I guess so.
to discuss this. So I don't know why why it's not moving this. It should be moving to committees.
Right.
So there is another internal meeting. So I don't know when is the date, but I can figure
It's
out.
April 20th.
April 20. Oh, next week. Okay.
Which one is that?
It's an internal meeting.
It's internal meeting.
Staff meeting.
Yeah, I was just looking at the list of dates that we had.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
Did we end up having the April 11th one?
No, so it was not, so this
No.
did not get put on the, even though I asked pretty, I asked to have it on the referral agenda for the council meeting
Yeah.
that was on the 25th, I think, of March. I can't remember. And I
They
could
put it
not,
off in favor of this
right.
April 20th internal meeting?
Yes.
Is the message?
But are you invited to that meeting?
Well, I'll be there.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I know about it, so
Okay.
that's a step in the right direction.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so great question. We thought the resolution was going to be put before the council, on April 11th, but it's gotten backed up a little bit.
But you know what? I still am very hopeful. I think we're in good shape.
Mhm.
So,
Well, it makes so much sense to ask all the questions about functionality and, how.
Yeah, the mayor can move forward the resolution, isn't it?
right, right, right,
I
yes,
don't need you, Alders.
yes, yes. Yay. This is going to be amazing. So, anyway.
Mhm.
Well, and I just want to comment. So I really appreciate everyone's work on this because, we have this big road project going on, West Lacey Road. This is kind of an aside. And we didn't have any ordinances in place to save trees. There's going to be a lot of trees coming down. But we did, because I think of the movement behind this, I was able to get a tree survey done. And I was able to pick 4 trees that are good candidates for preservation. There's 4 bur oak trees. And work with the engineers to get the plans changed, and they really did have to do some creative engineering. They did have to change some, they did really have to work with me on that, and hopefully, if all goes well, hopefully those 4 trees are gonna stay throughout the process. So I've got them all, I have the tree preservation zone set for them. So, and I think I'm not an engineer, so me measuring and an engineer measuring sometimes are not the same thing. But I'm pretty sure I have I'm pretty sure I measured out correctly what it's supposed to be. At any rate, so we'll see how this goes. It's our first attempt to keep trees in the landscape and do a big road project. It's our first attempt to do that I'm aware of. And I think we can do it, and I think it will be successful. So I just really credit this group and Julia and everyone else who really was active in that to make that happen. So even though we hadn't got the ordinance done yet, just the fact that we're really working on this and really creating a lot of awareness, it was much easier for me then to say, like, wondering, do you think we could spend the money to do a tree survey? We weren't going to do that. I know, but let's do it. Okay, did it. Looks like there's, look, can we just kind of work some of these trees in, and it really was, I think, a good momentum thing.
Because they're going to start clearing everything like in the next couple of weeks,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
like next week, yeah,
So,
if
yeah.
the weather holds, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, right, exactly. And then there's gonna be a stormwater facility over there, well, all this stuff. And hopefully, we'll be able to preserve those trees in this whole process. And I really appreciate everyone's work to try and make that happen, because it's not been something we've successfully been able to do in the past. So thank you, is all I'm trying to say.
And maybe it could be a model for the future,
That would be great.
going forward.
That would be great, and I think, and the key is, as you all know, is getting it on the agenda from the start. Because you can't say, we'd like to keep these trees. Well, there's supposed to be a sidewalk here. Well, it's too late at that point.
Yeah.
So, and it really takes some creative engineering, and I was really grateful that, we have great staff here, so I was really grateful that they, entertained me talking to them. And
How big is the trees, like diameter?
Good question. So one is probably in the 20-ish dBH. There's a couple that are, so it's 4 trees. One is probably in that 20,
So 20 inches?
20 dBH, yeah, diameter at breast height. And there's probably, one is closer to probably in that 30 plus range.
Oh, wow.
And one is probably in that 20 to 25, and the other one is a little bit smaller, probably 18. So, and they're in good shape. They are doing awesome. So we'll see. They're in good shape going in, which is good.
It's very heartening to hear that that's even in a project where it's not part of the ordinance, that's how it's working, because that's kind of what we're hoping for, is
Right.
to get that conversation, even if it's just increments, it's still much better than we would have been before. So
Yeah, and if it's just me, it's like the teacher in Charlie Brown. I think we should save some trees. Wah, 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 wah. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly how it goes. It's kind of like, a kid saying we need to increase the budget for Christmas presents. It doesn't really work out. You know what I mean? Like, so I really appreciate everyone's effort to kind of keep things moving forward.
Yep.
So, anyway, I just wanted, that's kind of an aside, but I just wanted to throw that out there and just say thank you to everyone.
Thank you very much.
And once we're on the referral agenda, we will have a new set of dates in terms of meetings.
oh yeah,
So will that change all the subsequent dates, like the
Yes.
May dates, everything
Yes.
will change because they have to be in order?
Yep, so because it hasn't been referred out yet from council. So it'll go to council, it'll be on the referral agenda, and then from council, it'll get referred out to, and I think there's a few more committees that want to talk to us.
I think parks for sure.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Who does?
Parks,
Oh,
yes,
okay. Yeah.
yes.
and we had parks on our plan, I think, to talk to them when they approve it. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. But any others, we'd be happy to talk
Maybe
to as well.
RCC, do you
Sure.
think so?
We talked to them once, they were very
We did,
supportive.
Yeah, so
If,
Super supportive.
sure,
But that was
whomever.
also when it was much more theoretical. So if they'd like to talk to us at a more concrete,
Yeah.
this is what's really happening stage, then I don't see why that'd be a
I may
problem.
I may not be in the city for everything, but
That's
except
okay.
for one 10-day period, I can participate by
okay,
Zoom if I'm not here, so.
okay.
Oh, for sure it's gonna go to plan.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely, yes,
For sure, yeah.
yes, yes.
So these dates are all going to change? Is that
They
what you're
will, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so I should. And what I'll do, well, we'll know by our next meeting what they will be, so,
If we get them ahead of that, though, if you can send them
Yes.
out, that'd be helpful so that they
Yes.
all know.
Okay. So we'll plan to be available when the committees get the resolutions for,
yeah,
to answer any questions that I have.
yeah.
That makes total sense to me.
So anyway, I really am very hopeful, and thank you, everyone. I'll never forget the meeting when Craig first brought this up, and I was like, yes, yes,
It
yes.
was a long time ago now.
It was a long time ago now, but anyway, so.
All right, any other questions about the ordinance? Okay. All right, thank you all. All right, next item is a resolution R 5623 for the 2023 spring tree planting plan.
Yeah.
I get excited just going over the list.
Yeah. I brought the bid tab if anyone needs it. I was surprised that our prices, for the most part, held steady. I was really expecting, I kept it at 210 trees because, A, that's enough to manage to start with, but I had no idea what we were gonna get price-wise because of diesel and everything else being all over the place.
Price of everything else has gone up so much. I would have also thought that.
I had no idea, exactly. I had no idea what to expect. So basically, this is only a $5 per tree difference from last year.
Great.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was completely shocked. I really truly was bracing for impact. I just didn't know.
I wonder if it's because these trees were already in the pipe planted.
You're right, to some extent,
Could be
because
next year.
About that too, that they're already mature enough.
Yeah,
Close
That by
to an
next year or the
investment
year
in them.
after, there'll be a big change.
yeah.
Whatever.
No, you're right.
Enjoy it
The
today.
later it is, the
Yeah,
better.
we'll enjoy it today.
Right, yeah, so we'll see, yeah. And this is mostly terrace trees, mostly new developments and ash replacements. And, hopefully, if nothing crazy happens, I'll have time to put together another park plan to replace the ash trees and parks that we took down and everything else, so anyway, I felt like it was a good price. We've worked with SRB in the past. They've done a decent job. They do the warranty work when we ask them to. They're in some prairies, so they're not far away. Anyway, so, I mean, it's your choice. I'm just giving you some background.
Okay.
Do we need to take any action based on that, or is this just kind of a information for us?
You're supposed to vote on it,
Okay.
but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to.
Aren't we, didn't you say we had to vote on the ordinance also?
I was wrong.
Oh, we can't.
Well,
We have to wait till it goes through the council. Correct? And then
Yes.
goes to the committee.
So
And then-
after the
So,
council,
yeah, I was wrong.
Oh,
we will have to, but we don't have to.
Not today.
And actually, at the last meeting, we expected to be
Yes.
voting on it today.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so
So-
next time we meet, hopefully we'll be voting on it.
Okay, I've been disconnected, so.
That's
sorry.
all right. There's a lot going.
No, thank you for
How
being
many
here.
how many ash trees you had to replace every year? Do you have a sense?
Good question. So we aim to take down about 100, and we replace. So far, we've been able to replace everything we've taken down. Last year, we took down closer. I can get you the exact number, but I think we took down about 60 last year,
Okay.
and then we're replacing all the ones in the terrace. There's a few in parks we still have to replace.
But that number will go down pretty significantly in future years where these trees will be less ash replacements and more just
Yes.
general planting.
Yes.
Is there an exception with that with the town of Madison?
Well, see, that's the thing. So the thing is, when we got Town of Madison, we inherited a lot of ugly ash trees that had to come down like instantly. So that's part of the reason why our numbers are going to be a little bit weird, is just because they had a lot of ash trees that really should have come down a couple of years ago that we had to get right on top of, unfortunately. And I really am sorry, the first thing we did there from a forestry perspective is come in and take down ash trees. I don't like that, but we didn't really have a choice. And
So when you say they had to come down, does that mean they were becoming a hazard?
they were
old?
dropping branches everywhere.
Yeah.
They were dying.
Yeah.
Their bark was coming off. They were coming, either we were going to take them down or they were going to fall down. So we opted to take them down.
Yeah.
So it is sad. It is completely sad. So that's part of the, well, we'll get into Arbor Day stuff, but we will plant those ash replacements, but that's part of the reason why the numbers are a little bit messed up and why we haven't been, because we just got Town of Madison in October. So we haven't really,
There hasn't been a planting since,
pretty much.
yeah.
Right, pretty much. And the other part of it too, you know, it's discovery. I call Town of Madison discovery. We're always figuring out more stuff there that we either figuring out what we have versus what we don't have, what we should do versus what we don't do. I mean, it's discovery. We're in the getting to know you phase. So, I don't know what else to say about it.
No, we're not quite at the budgeting time frame yet, but is that something where we should be making a push for increasing hours based on, I mean, obviously we all think we need more forestry hours, but if the meaningful amount of work has gone up dramatically because of
Yeah, that's a good point,
this new
yes.
addition.
Absolutely, yeah. And, yeah, I mean,
I want to keep that in mind just as, because I don't have a good sense for how much extra forestry work it is, because if it was in great shape when you came in, then, you know,
Yeah.
it might be more of a kind of par, but if it's needing a lot of work, then
well, and
it
as
takes time.
a little bit off topic, but related to your point, like, there's a lot of planting spaces that we need to plant to catch up in town of Madison, because they haven't been to my knowledge, they haven't been planting trees.
Yeah.
So there's a lot,
Like
right.
for a long
They
time.
haven't done a lot of things.
I don't think I don't know the last time they planted trees on a large scale. I don't know if anyone knows that, but the part that we got hasn't had new trees in a long time. So, so anyway, but I can talk about more about that later. I don't want to digress, but yeah, it's to bring it up to Fitchburg standards. It's going to need some more work, but we're on it.
Can you calculate if they are close to the 30% canopy?
They're
you know?
they're not even close,
Close, okay.
which is sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, but
Yeah, because that area is also a low income area, and this is the area where we need to be more intentional and plant more tree, and you know.
yes,
And-
yes, you are right, and yes. So, but in my staff report, I will touch on that
Okay,
a little bit.
okay.
Okay. So anyway, should we digress? Sorry, I kind of am getting us. It's tree planting season, so I'm all excited. So anyway, all right. I kind of interrupted your vote, Linda.
No, no, no.
Does that mean we need a motion
Yes.
for a vote on this?
Yep.
Okay, I move we approve the, what is the exact title for this? The bid?
It's resolution R5623.
There we go. I
Yep.
just found it. Move we approve resolution R5623.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, the next item is the 2023 Arbor Day tree planting events.
Awesome. So this is where I'll talk about getting more trees in the healthy neighborhoods. We have a lot of, so we have we have 4 different events planned. One is on April 29th, that's in Southdale. We're gonna be replacing ash trees in Southdale Park. So that's the kind of the public event that I'm hoping we've reached out to the neighborhood. I'm hoping we get neighborhood folk there. It'd be nice to do that. I don't know what kind of, I'm not sure what to expect, but we're hoping, we've reached out to the neighborhood. We're hoping to get some folks there. It's only an hour because there is no bathroom in that park. We're gonna have a porta potty there, but I didn't do a big program because it's not, we don't have the amenities there yet for a community park, so it's kind of an abridged program, but we are gonna plant some trees and hopefully do some mulching and just, it's part of the getting to know you phase. So, yeah, so that's April 29th from 9 to 10, I believe. Oh, shoot. Ah, goodness.
1 hour?
Yeah.
So the Southdale Park, is that north of Post Road?
It's like northeast.
Yeah, it's between Rimrock and,
Sky Lane.
yes, thank
That
you,
one,
yes.
yeah.
Ski lane.
Yes,
Ski
lane.
lane,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know.
Yes, thank you. You know this area much better than I do.
Mm.
It's, yeah. Let me bring up the,
But didn't the name get changed? I thought all the streets had their names changed because they wanted to project a different image.
that could be, not that I'm aware of, but
That was a
doesn't
couple
mean-
years ago.
Back behind Delta Beer Lab, according
Yeah,
to
back
the
in
map,
But
which is,
Buick, go back.
It's on this side of the Beltline,
Oh,
and east of Park Street, or 14.
So the address is 160 Deer Valley
Yeah, it was
Road.
changed from that to,
Okay.
it was an image change. We changed the name of the street.
Oh, okay.
That was the whole deal, a couple of those streets were all changed. We'll change the name, and then the neighborhood will magically improve.
Improve, yeah.
Yeah, just because we changed the name.
solves all the
Wow.
problems, right?
You didn't know that?
No, I did
That's
not know
what you
that.
do, that's
then you
what
have
easiest
more deer
solution.
or less deer? No, I mean.
So
That's what every troubled neighborhood always does, just change the name.
that's kind of funny. I
No,
didn't
it's
know-
not.
Funny, odd, not funny, funny.
Like, because that didn't work.
No, it didn't. It doesn't. But no
Yeah.
one gets it.
That's hilarious. Anyway, well, from 9 to 10, we're gonna be planting trees in this neighborhood.
Whatever the name of the street is, Deer Valley, Deer West Valley, more
We
Deer.
actually know from research
Dear
that
Lord,
having more
dear Lord.
trees does impact
Yeah,
behavior.
that's more
and
positive.
Which is, but, and it's really true.
Yeah.
Improves people's health,
Yeah.
and it has a lot of positive effects. So,
Yeah.
yes, you're right, that's,
So that, so
This
that's
would be a
April
better-
29th.
That's a much better idea.
So on the 28th, which is Arbor Day, I'm doing kind of an interesting project, and this is sort of a, I don't want to say it's a pilot project, but it's the first time we've done something like this, and I think it will work well with Madison Tree. So Madison Tree Canopy is an organization that has trees to plant in underserved neighborhoods. So I went to their gravel bed and marked a bunch of trees that are going to come here, and they're free of charge. They're free trees for us, which is great. So I went years ago, marked trees for City of Fitchburg, and we are going to plant them on Post Road, which is not far from the hub. I thought we could tie it in with hub stuff, but timing doesn't quite work. But that's okay. So we have volunteers from the DNR Service Center who are going to come out on Arbor Day in the morning, and we are going to plant trees along Post Road. And it's a partnership with us, DNR, so City of Fitchburg, DNR, and the Madison Tree Canopy Project. And the whole idea is to get more, and part of it is the terrace on Post Road isn't designed for trees. So these trees they're bare root, so they're gonna be easier to plant. We're gonna have to stake them. And you traditionally don't plant the kind of trees we're planting in the terrace because you need a little bit more space, but I think this is gonna work as long as we plant them correctly, which we will, and take care of them. So there's going to be some species we don't have in other parts of the city because there just isn't a lot of space in that terrace. It's a 4-foot terrace, and it's full of stuff. So we have to kind of work around water and things like that. So anyway, so it's going to be an interesting project, and I think it will be hopefully a model for us to move forward with in terms of even in our neighborhoods, our healthy neighborhoods that may not have been designed for trees, we can kind of retrofit them in if we're creative and we think about how to do this in different ways. So it's kind of exciting. I hope it works.
it is exciting.
What kind of trees are you planting?
So we're going to put in some katsuras, we're going to put in some service berries, we're going to put in some redbuds, we're going to put in some, there are room for a few bigger ones. We have a few oaks going in, and we have a few honey locust, and I forget what else.
But a lot of different ones.
A lot of different ones, and ones that we don't have in other parts of the city, and some of them are pretty showy, so it should,
Yeah, redbuds and service berries.
perfect, yes,
Pretty.
yes. So it should bring some beauty to Post Road.
Yeah.
Previously, there were ash trees that we took them down. They were on the other side of the sidewalk. They were kind of in city. They were like partially on city right away, partially on the apartment property. So I can't really replace them there because it's not really, we don't have enough space. So anyway, so it'll be interesting. I think I've worked everything out. I think it's gonna be fine. We just need to do a good job with it.
I was surprised when those ash came down. I was so used to them. I thought it would look really barren, but it didn't. You know, as I drove by, I was like, wow, they had a lot of other trees,
Yeah.
older, mature trees in the area, so it didn't look as, you know, I thought I was gonna drive down and go, oh, but it's like I didn't. So anything that's added will be nice, but it wasn't as catastrophic feeling as I was expecting.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'll just take this moment to just plug again the diversity, which is the other piece of our goal. So
Yep.
the canopy cover, and then the diversity of the trees, which is so critical to protecting our infrastructure. So it's great that it has this kind of diversity and variety of trees.
And then also under the agenda item of Arbor Day events, on Earth Day, we have a church group coming out and planting trees in Hillside Heights. And there's a lot of them. So I didn't open that up to the public because there's so many. The church group is 25 people, which is kind of a lot. So we're planting trees. We have a new playground over there. I guess that's close to where they want to be. So we're planting trees there. And that week of Earth Week, we have shrub plantings going on. We have 3 different neighborhood associations who want to put more shrubs in for wildlife habitat, birds and that kind of thing. So so we've got a lot going on. It's going to be an interesting spring, kind of a diversity of things happening, and so I think it's going to be great. And if anyone has any questions, let me know, and I will get you more information.
So the neighborhood associations are putting in the shrubs, are they doing that in their area parks? Is that where they're going, or in the?
Good question. So there's gonna be a shrub planting at Wildwood Kettle, and then there's gonna be one in, Rosedale Common, and then there's gonna be one in Chicory Meadows.
Okay.
So in, Rosedale Common, they want bluebirds, and I'm like, well, you need shrubs. So they put up bluebird boxes, and so that's why we need more shrubs there. And then in Chicory Meadows, they took out all the invasive stuff, so they're putting in shrubs.
Right.
And then in Wildwood, they took out a variety of invasive things, so they're putting in shrubs there too.
Great.
So,
Potentially, obvious question, do shrubs count towards canopy?
that's a good question, and that's one we talked to DNR about. So they could. It depends a little bit on how
big they are.
how big they are and what you want to count.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I hesitate to count them sometimes, but I don't know. So that's a good question, and I think it's something we need to flesh out moving forward. So, because I think when we talked to DNR about was it you and I or you?
It was Sue.
Sue, I'm sorry.
Well, I was in on the
Okay.
communications,
I
but yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I forget.
That's all right, that's okay.
Sorry.
No.
So I had this
that's
discussion
good.
with Sue.
No,
Anyway, yes, so we have to flesh that out, and that's something that we will do.
And then the next question is, if you are looking for members of this committee to be at any of those events, if that would be helpful at all. Looking at it, I think I might be able to swing the 29th.
Perfect.
If you need any help cleaning or planning or showing up.
That would be great.
Sure.
I think we're covered for everything, like the 20th would be perfect. I think I've got enough volunteers for all the other events that I think we're pretty good. Is there any questions or comments? Okay.
Wonderful. Very exciting. All right. Reports from the department.
Okay, yes, and thank you. I made this an agenda item because one thing I wanted to bring up, so I submitted a written report to you guys, and there's lots going on always. There's always room to do more, but one thing I think we really need to be aware of is that there is a lot of IRA money. It's inflation. I think it's
The
inflation.
Inflation Reduction Act?
Thank you, yes. So towards trees, it is a kind of a once-in-a-generation investment in urban forestry that the federal government is putting out. And so we really need to position ourselves to take advantage of that. And they really want to see trees in neighborhoods like our healthy neighborhoods. They want to see pavement pulled up and trees planted. I don't know if we can pull that off exactly, but
What
that's
anyone pulled up? The name?
pavement.
Oh.
So it's like, that's the idea, that's like the big goal.
Okay.
However, they want to see trees planted in areas that traditionally have not had trees, which we have a lot of that in Fitchburg. But I will say, it does take staff time to do all that partnership and all of that working with everybody. So if there is ever a time to make the forester job full-time, it would be now. And I think that, we know Julia's really supported that in the past, so I think that's just something we just need to keep in mind. And I would also suggest that it might be a good time, too, to kind of split apart the urban forester and the naturalist job and have those as two separate jobs so that the urban forester can focus on trees and a naturalist could do all of the prairie burning and the plant stuff and all of those kinds of things, potentially. I mean, that's just something maybe to work towards. And really important for this group, I think, after tree preservation ordinance comes to be passed, I think we need to work on our urban forestry plan and get something concrete that we can point to say like, hey, we have these canopy goals, we have some different things in the comp plan, but we really need to flesh it out. This group really needs to flesh it out in a meaningful way from an urban forestry plan because we really don't have one, and it's not helpful moving forward because there's not anything we can point to say like, well, we made this plan, we're here on this plan, we need X, we need Y, we need Z. We don't really have that. So I just wanted to put that out to folks just to say like, hey, next up really needs to, and I think it's great that we worked on the tree preservation ordinance. That was part of the last comp plan, which is awesome. But I think we really do need to get our ducks in a row in terms of that urban forestry plan, particularly considering there's a lot of particularly federal money that we are not in a good position to apply for grant-wise, and we just miss out. So we really need to, I think about things in a little bit more of a holistic standpoint.
That's what I was going to ask. How do you access that money? You have to write a grant, I assume.
Yep, you have to write grants, and so my guess is, you can write grants directly to the feds. My guess is Milwaukee will be big enough to do that. I don't know of any other municipality that will do that. Maybe Madison, I'm not sure. But there will be a pot of money coming to Wisconsin DNR, and we can apply to it from them.
Okay.
So I've been trying to set us up. I've been talking to everyone that is sort of in the know on this, just to make sure we're kind of setting ourselves up for this. And it's going to take a lot of partnership, and it's going to take partnerships probably with, for example, some of our multifamily housing. Like we have, for example, there's a few multifamily housing developments, if you want to call it that aren't a fair bit of acreage that don't have trees. It would be nice to work with them, get trees in these areas, on and on, things of that nature. So it just takes time, and it takes partnership, and it takes, working with a lot of different people. So, but I think it would be worth it, because the investment to come to the city would be huge. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. And it's definitely on my radar, but I feel like we need to kind of think about it from a bigger picture standpoint as well. Because it really is probably a once in a generation opportunity to get some strong federal infusion for trees. But of course, they don't pay
That's
for
great.
staff. They only pay for, they pay for projects.
So what is the application process then to the DNR? How much does that involve in terms of paperwork it requires?
It's pretty thorough. So you have to have your, your proposal, letters of support. We'd have to have a resolution through the council, which I don't think would be a problem. And then we'd have to have, a pretty well thought out project, and have it all thought out with all the costs and who's going to do what and all that kind of stuff. So it's not insignificant.
What would the timeline be for needing to get those ducks in a row? Like,
So-
when is this application?
So, good question. So I talked to our DNR partners just last week in preparation for this meeting, and they're not sure. The money has got to the Forest Service, but it hasn't come to them yet, but it's probably the end of the year.
Okay.
So it might be good timing. And I feel like there's just a lot we could do.
But do you need to have the plan ready before the grant?
Yeah, you would. Good question. You would. Although, so I did talk to DNR, because one of our big problems is DNR often wants you, when part of their grant rules, we require you, they require a match, which is fine. I think we could work that out. But they require you to spend the money and get reimbursed, which is kind of a problem. So I told them, I said, is there a way that we can work around that? And they're trying to change their grant rules where it is a direct reimbursement, instead of having to spend it and then get reimbursed, like that they would write the checks, which would be a lot easier for us, I think, because that's part of sometimes our issue. Well, this isn't in the budget. We can't really spend the money yet. We don't, it gets pretty clunky then. So yeah, so we would have to have things pretty much, fleshed out. And I don't know. I think there's a tremendous amount that we could do.
But when you talk about that, we don't have an urban forestry plan.
We
But
don't.
the city doesn't have one.
No,
So if we do one,
that would
it
be
has to be outsourced, isn't it?
probably. And that's one of the things I think that we could maybe write into our grant.
To do that.
Yes, and include, also include increasing our canopy in some of our underserved neighborhoods, which, like there's no trees on Leopold Way. I'd love to plant that whole thing. I mean, that's a fairly straightforward, I could price that out and get that set for a grant in not that much time.
When you say Leopold Way, which area?
So from the intersection with Post Road going west,
West. Okay.
because we planted trees and then we ran out of money, and so we stopped right in front of the park, and then there's nothing else.
Okay.
So it'd be really nice to get that planted, among other things. That's a
Okay.
pretty obvious one. It'd be nice to get more trees in Southdale. It would be, there's a lot of a lot of different options. So anyway, I just bring it up to get it on people's radar, because I'm not sure everyone is thinking about that, and it's been something that I've really been percolating. So, does anyone have any questions or comments?
My thought is just, in developing an urban forestry plan, we probably would do the same, or would we probably do the same thing as with the tree preservation ordinances, have like a smaller kind of subcommittee working on it, and then get feedback or recommendations from the whole committee, do it that way? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I
And would
mean,
it just need to be members from our committee and you
no,
or other?
no, I like that idea.
Okay.
Typically, like as Julia, has walked in a million different plans, right? So all your years on council, usually they do, they get referred out to a variety of committees, and people have the chance to give input. And sometimes they sail right through, and sometimes people have a lot to say, so. So, yeah, just a lot to think about.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, I guess, other than
Very
what,
exciting direction. Very
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
moving. We're moving.
Right.
Moving in the right direction.
I agree, yeah, totally.
Maybe I missed this, but I was just kind of wondering, what, I know you have a plan of things you're gonna do for the city, so an urban forestry plan, like, what does it do or say? How is it different from the plans that you already do every year?
I don't, so when you say the plans we do every year, what are you speaking of?
Well, like whatever you choose to plant, or at the beginning of the year when you request trees, you have a plan. So what's the next step that the urban forestry plan?
So right now, what drives it is what developments need trees. That's what drives us right now, is mostly what developments need trees. And we've got, who we collected money from, and also what parks need to be planted, because we're going to have to give that money back if we don't plant it. So it's basically putting out fires, basically, and an urban forestry plan would take a little bit of a bigger look and say like, hey, hopefully we'd have a complete inventory by the time we got this plan done, but we'd say, okay, we have a really imbalance in species diversity. We really need to start planting more of X, Y, Z kinds of trees. We really have a lot of invasive shrubs. We need to kind of get those replaced with native things, things of that nature. And it just has the big overall goals and objectives of what is the mission of the urban forestry department here in the city of Fitchburg? What is the vision? What do we want to see happen moving forward? Do we, right now we have a pruning cycle of 5 or 6 years or whatever it is. Do we want to shorten that up? Do we need to start a train pruning program, which we kind of have? Do we need to kind of think about how we work with different neighborhoods in terms of canopy and replacement, because we don't have a lot of age diversity. We have a lot of old trees and a lot of really young trees. We don't have a lot in the middle. Just looking at all of those kinds of things, and also just having an idea of, okay, because right now we have no one to do maintenance. We have no one to do maintenance, tree maintenance. We contract out planting completely. Mm-hmm. So planting is completely contracted out.
What do you call, you mean like on the terraces, they...
Pruning. You can,
we
go
do some
to,
pruning.
my key farm park, sometimes you go and you see this tree need to be pruned,
Right.
so they can, and,
Well, and we've
all of that stuff, isn't it? You don't have people to do that.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So we do some clearance pruning, but that's about it. And we don't do any kinds of I have been trying to do surveys for oak wilt and for gypsy moth, because they've been a really big problem recently, but we don't really have a lot. We don't do any plant health care. We do very, very little tree maintenance, and we've had this huge investment. We've been planting trees like maniacs.
Right.
It's almost insane.
That's been one of my concerns all along too. There's not really a solid plan for caring for new plantings.
Right, we
are-
talked about that.
Right.
Yeah, and just to put into context, like the year that I came, so I planted 300 or 400 trees that year, and it's never slowed down. The last year Ed was here, he planted 15 trees. And the reason exactly, Sue, exactly, my thoughts exactly. And he said, I don't want to plant trees that can't be cared for. Well, my predecessor. So anyway, and nothing against, I'm not trying to say anything negative about anyone, because that's a legit concern. But really, we need to keep planting trees, and we need to then also build up the
What
capacity.
about those conservancy areas that we have? Because we have two big ones. We have Dowley and we have the other one in Magog. And we have a lot of issues with trees too in those areas.
Yeah.
So that one is going to be part of the...
Right,
the
exactly,
plan,
right, exactly. Because we do have a lot of hazard trees in our parks that we only take care of when we have complaints, It's kind of a putting out fires scenario, which isn't the end of the world. And I think we do pretty well, all things considered. But if we kind of had things planned out a little bit, I think it would
And
go.
also we need to include the Moraine Park.
Right.
We want to do that. And
Right, that's a good
now
point.
it's like...
Now's
You
the
remember
time.
what happened in Irish Lane now? All these trees can be gone if we get the grant money for the bike lanes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because no one thought that, Moraine Park is going to come through here. You know what I
Right,
mean?
you're exactly right, yes. You're exactly right. So it's, you have to, you
Yeah.
have to kind of think ahead on
If we
these
have a
things.
plan, someone say, oh, I think there is a plan where we need to protect those trees in Irish
Right.
Lane, you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Exactly, right. And it would be nice if we could designate trees, heritage trees or whatever. We don't really have a way to do that now, so it's a matter of, if you have this plan fleshed out and can point to, hey, we'd like to do these things, we need staff for this, it's a lot easier to then get the resources that are necessary. So that's the idea. I mean,
Just trying to be proactive instead of reactive as much as
exactly.
possible.
Right, because right now, we get more and more reactive.
but also we
All
need
the
to
time.
look at trees like they're an asset for the city,
Yes.
and they're very
Right.
expensive, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And if we are, like you said, we are planting, but we are not caring or maintaining, we are not protecting our investments, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? And,
Yes. Very well said, perfect, yes, absolutely. I mean, so that's, in a,
Critical infrastructure.
right, and part of it, I think, part of our plan would be to develop staff, that we have certified arborists on staff that are doing our tree care, which we don't have now, so, right, so it's, I think, a time that we kind of get that
And
done.
I think if we do that, we can protect some of the, the tree for get some diseases
Yes.
and be proactive instead of, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, yeah, you're 100% right on, yes, and have a kind of a plant healthcare
Yeah.
portion to our forestry program, which we don't really have now, other than our ash treatment, which we do pretty decent with. So, anyway, that's the, yes.
So you said something about the forestry and the natural list?
Yes.
Are you thinking there would be another person?
I would hope so, because
Okay.
as Brandy knows, because she's very active in our naturalist part of things, like, I don't get to spend enough time on that, and then we don't, and again, there's
Yeah.
grants that are available that we don't take advantage of, just because I get so stretched, and then we're not,
Okay.
and we try to, we really do try, and I think, keep on top of it as much as we can, but sometimes when you have a tiger by the tail,
Yeah.
you kind of, sometimes you don't keep in control of things as much as you like. So,
Yeah.
and we got all of our burns done, and I think they look pretty decent. And we've got plants ordered, and we've got so we're on top of stuff. But it would be a level of detail. We'd bring a level, if we had another person, it'd bring another level of detail that we really could use.
What is a city tree? What is the tree that identifies as a city?
Good.
Like a Fitchburg, because we are celebrating 40 years this year, and
Yes.
so we had to say,
Right. Yes.
what is that?
Right.
Do you have one?
Well, that's a good question. We'll find one. We will find one. That's a
You will
good.
find one?
We will find one,
Okay.
and then we can plant one too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good
We can plant one
idea.
too. There's a couple of planting spaces here close to City Hall that I've been kind of saving for a special occasion. That might
We
be
can
it.
do one to celebrate the 40 years.
That would be great. That'd be perfect.
So in 40 years we can see.
Yes.
I am not going to be alive, but.
Well, yes. Right. No. Right. That's a good. Yes. Because that's coming up.
Yeah, when is April or something?
Something. Yeah. I'm not sure. But it's sort of coming up. Anyway. Or maybe it's past, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, good point.
Mhm.
We could find a tree that was probably born the same year the city, and we can plant another one. Anyway, okay.
Okay. So big change coming, big new stuff.
I hope so, right?
Yeah.
But I think you need to push, as a committee, you're the one who need to push for all of the idea, because if no one push this forward, or the person who represent this committee, the elder, should be the person who push that, because otherwise the rest of the council, they don't have any clue what you guys do here. You know what I mean? So,
Right. No.
You're gonna get them in line though, right?
I don't know. I hope so. I don't know.
But yes. No, but you bring up an awesome point, because getting back to what we started with, like the trees on West Lacey, I would not have had success with that if it had not been the energy from this committee, and that's just a fact. That's just a fact. So
That's exciting.
it
So
is
it
exciting.
works.
It does work. Yes,
Good.
it does work. Absolutely. So yes. All right. I'll quit talking.
I have a question about the ash trees.
Yes.
When do you estimate that we will be done with ash trees? When will they all be dead?
That's a good question. So, we're
Or-
treating on a 2-year cycle right now. And I'm pretty picky about what we treat. We're constantly knocking trees out of the running. If they're not good enough, I knock them out. So we have some trees that we could probably treat for a long time. So the goal is to get the number down, or to have ash trees that we know are gonna not cause a problem if something happens to them, like that they're not they don't have a lot of targets, basically. and that they're in really good physical, they have good structure. So, I mean, we could have ash trees probably for 10 or 20 years if we keep treating and we keep on that if we want to. So I'd like to kind of get it to a point, and we're close, we're almost there, get it to a point where it's like, okay, all of our really ash trees that are going to cause us a problem are gone. All we have left are trees with really good structure that look really nice, that are in good spots, and there's few enough of them that if something happened, we could deal with it right away. So it kind of takes any kind of emergency out of it, or any kind of, budget spike, because we don't really want that from an ash tree perspective. So it really then becomes our choice. Like, do we want to keep these trees in the environment or not? And then if we decide not to treat them, 2 years later, we just plan to take them down. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Somewhat, it'd be nice to get past the emerald ash borer deal.
It would be, because it sucks up a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And how much it costs to maintain
Ash trees.
ash trees, and what is the rate of success, when you start with,
So excellent questions. So I'll start with the rate of success. So for
Okay.
us, we have a very good, because we do it ourselves, and our guys are very conscientious and very thoughtful, and they're doing the same trees, so they know the tree and they know where they did in the past. That's a huge asset. So our rate of success has been, we haven't lost a tree that we've treated.
Okay.
So that's really good. We actually did last summer, I think I told this group that I worked with UW Stevens Point. They were doing a study on ash treatment and the effect on trees, and they came here and they recently published, I can't wait to see it, they recently published a study, and our trees are in it, in terms of success with different injection methods, and we were one of the municipalities that they looked at. So I think that's awesome. We have not had, like, you see bad injection all over the place, right? You can just see it. It's like, oh my goodness, where they didn't inject the tree right and they ended up killing the tree. We don't have that problem, which is awesome. However, the cost is, I don't know what it's going to be this year. Last year, a liter, it was $500, and a liter does about 10-inch trees, about 100 inches.
Okay.
So you don't get a lot for that. So it costs us about $3,500 just to buy the chemical, which is not bad, really. And then the crew, the park maintenance crew, they do the injection work and they do a really nice job. It does take them a couple weeks, but they do a nice job, and they're not in a hurry, which is the whole point. And
Did
then,
you train them?
yeah,
You trained
well,
by-
no, they were trained by the chemical company.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and they do a very nice job. And because we're doing it ourselves, we have the ability to say, okay, it's really dry, we're not even gonna try. Okay, it just rained, we're gonna get out there and treat. Because the tree has to be transpiring for it to work. And I think that's the key to our success, is that we can be very flexible when we do it, because we're doing it ourselves. We're not, right, we're not on a contractor schedule. We're like, we're in Fitchburg, we're doing this now, and then hoping that it's, you know what I mean?
I get it.
So that's part of the key. And then we also have control of the rate. You know what I mean? Like, so for example, there's 3 different rates you can use to treat an ash tree. We try to stay in the middle. But if there's a tree we think, well, this is a really good tree, we want it to stay here, it's showing signs of infestation, we can bump the rate up if we, we have that discretion.
Rate of what?
Rate of chemical,
Uptake? How
Yes.
fast it takes?
how much
Allow it to go.
how much chemical you're putting in the water. So since we have the discretion, because we're in control, because we're doing it, I think that's the key to our success. So which I think is worth noting. And so long story longer, to get back to your point, there are some ash trees we could probably keep for a long time if we keep injecting them. Also, the chemical has gotten better. It was super viscous when the first formulation was super viscous. It was hard for trees to take it up. They've gotten the formulation to be much less viscous, much easier for trees to transpire. Because we're relying on that tree to move that chemical through the phloem. And if the tree can't move it through the phloem, we're done. We can't. I mean, like, it just drips out of the base or just stays, it doesn't work. So, and that's why we're pretty picky about what we treat, because if the tree has plumbing issues, well, it's not gonna work. So so we're pretty careful about all that. So anyway, that's the ash treatment synopsis.
That's really helpful to
Well,
know.
anyway.
But it sounds like, with Brendy's question is that the bulk of the ash taking down and getting rid of trees, we've dealt with the majority of it, so now it's not,
Yeah.
we're kind of past the
Forget,
peak.
and notwithstanding the town of Madison, I'm just thinking of Fitchburg and the resources that it's taking here.
Yes, not counting town of Madison. Yes, we have about, the thing is though, when we get new parkland, often they have ash trees on them. So when we get new parkland, often there are ash trees there. So, which is just how it goes. And we just take them down because if they haven't been treated, because there's no point. So it's a little bit of a moving target, but we're about 250 ash trees now. So that's not a disaster. I mean, if we had to take those trees down in a couple years, we could do it. I wouldn't want to do that, but we could. So yeah, we're kind of past the peak. The issue we have now with ash borer that takes a ton of time is, and this is getting better too, but like there's a lot of dead trees on private property that are a problem for neighbors or a problem for whatever, and then that ends up being a nuisance, and then we have to kind of work through that whole process. So anyway, that was a big issue last summer. I'm hoping this summer will be a little bit better.
In terms of dealing with neighbors and trying to get issues resolved and so forth.
Yep. And yeah. So anyway, that's the ash borer synopsis. Yes, right.
I learned a lot of things today.
Oh, did you? Oh, good. Oh, good. Yes.
We can have a celebration when the last one is done.
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
right. No, and the thing is, the bigger they get, the more expensive they are to treat. So it's just like, okay, is it worth it? And we really try to think about that before we commit. But on this other side, like if we're going to commit, we're committed. So we're careful with it.
So, but my other question was, how many times do you inject that tree? Once per year or
Once every 2 years.
Ah, okay.
And my hope
Okay.
is we can get to once every 3 years
Okay.
once we're past peak beetle infestation, which would be good for the trees and good for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Beetle day.
Right. And we're getting there.
that's
They
what I
clear
was
two of my
thinking of
trees.
is,
Yes.
it's like any disease, it should be playing itself out at some point.
It is. And maybe next year we can go to a 3-year cycle. That'd be awesome. And then if we have 200-ish trees over a 3-year cycle, that's pretty manageable. So, anyway. And,
We have one like this big right behind our house.
oh, wow, is
But we're
it
treating it every 2 years.
nice? Yeah,
So,
nice.
so far, so good. It's like it's our air conditioner.
Right.
So,
You don't want to lose that.
so. But I
Yes.
didn't know what you said about it needing to have moisture to take up
Yes.
the. So I have to check with our guy and make sure.
Make
Yeah.
sure the
He's
tree
doing
is
it.
at the right time.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure you have the right guy. Is it?
Well, I hope I do. I hope I do.
I'm sure you're great. I'm sure you're great. If it's still doing good, then you're great.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, because if it wasn't, if they weren't doing a good job, you'd know by now.
Okay, good.
So,
I'll still talk to him though.
yeah.
I heard that it's supposed to rain before you.
Well, the tree takes it up better
Yeah.
Right.
and more quickly.
Yeah, I just didn't know that, so.
Yeah.
Good.
So we don't treat in the afternoon. It's usually in the morning, done by 10, then do it the next.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
and we can do that, right? We can work it around.
Ah,
Yeah, you learned something.
I learned something.
Yeah. All right. I feel like I'm just
Okay.
like talking at you guys.
Oh, I appreciate the education,
Oh, yeah.
actually. All right. Any other questions for Anna? All right. Any announcements?
Next meeting is May 11th.
And this is my last meeting, guys.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for being with us.
I learned a lot here, so you know what I mean. When they assigned me to this committee, I came here with a lot of questions about. I am an accountant and I do economic development. I said, what do I need to know about tree? You know what I mean? But I learned a lot. You know what I mean, and now I know that how important are trees in our community, and
Yeah.
so you have an ally.
Oh,
Yes.
Mayor. Okay.
Hey,
Do you know yet who will be coming to the committee?
No,
When?
I have
Okay,
I
that's
have to
fine.
decide that, and and
I'm sure there's a lot of moving parts in your life over the
and
next
I
few
don't know
months.
yet
So.
because
Well, we'd be happy with anybody.
huh?
We'd be happy with anybody. I'd be happy with anybody.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but you're gonna have another elder. I don't know who it's gonna be yet.
yeah.
That's fine.
By next week.
somebody that we can educate.
Oh,
And that's not-
like
that's-
me.
Yeah, and look at how that turned out.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, whoever
that's
you want
not
to
a
be
bad-
the mayor after you, maybe go for that because it's clearly the pipeline.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I think what I believe is that all of us elder we should rotate
Yeah.
in different committee because you learn a lot, and in my 8 years in council, I rotate for so many committees, and they give it another perspective, you know what I mean? Like how
Right.
all the pieces, for me, it's a puzzle, and all the pieces, how they get together. And, you know, sometimes people think tree, but, but trees that are inventory, are an asset, and, are part of our, part of our, community. And we have areas in our community where we need to invest more on tree, and, and so, no, I think that, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yes. And
The issue is that some people, because it's at 4 o'clock, it
Oh,
could be for
sure.
some people, work, especially
Yep,
the people
yep,
that they
yep.
work, they have issue with,
Yep, that's true.
you know what I mean,
What's a better time for people in general?
after 5,
After 5?
5:30.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we will welcome whoever
Okay.
joins us.
Yes.
You don't scare the people. So, but no, I want to tell you that it was a, I want to say thank you for,
Oh, of course.
because you think that you love tree, and this is what I always say, what is tree? And say, there is a very good, they really love that committee, they are very passionate about tree.
Yes,
And always, Gabriela was here
Yes.
before, and Gabriela was very passionate about
Yes.
tree, and she's still, and, and,
yes,
and this is when Gabriela said, no, you will enjoy tree, you know what I mean?
yes, yeah.
No, I want to say thank you, every one of you, for serving and for,
Yeah.
for protecting our tree. And
Yes. And thank you for being with us.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you. And we will be advocating for more forestry time too, for city foresters. So just,
Ongoing process.
that's right,
you
that's
need to
right.
contact the major.
One day at a time.
Yes.
I will.
Before
I
budget
think I
time.
know how,
And then we
yeah.
get that other staff person.
Yeah,
They can start about at halftime or
Yes,
something.
right, yes,
Definitely.
perfect. Right, no, you're right, perfect, yes.
And before we just adjourn, I just want to thank you, Anna, for who
Oh.
you are, your extreme professionalism, your expertise, your willingness to educate as well, because
Oh.
that's important. People have to understand.
I try.
And so I just greatly appreciate
Oh, you're
you
welcome.
so very much. Thank
Oh,
you.
well,
City's very lucky to have you.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a group effort for sure, and I'm super grateful that this committee got an alder and got to be an official committee, because it really then got legs. So that's great. So yes. All right.
All right, so I think without any other questions,
Can we move adjournment?
yes.
I'll do that.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. 5:06.